It's unlikely Kawhi will be healthy. He missed the final 8 games of the regular season and 4 of the 5 in this series. The solution for the Clippers is simple. Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook need to play like the all-stars they have been. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California, home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm of Iteris, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you black.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money P. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not doing ceremonies. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune in KBLA 1580 to get the map. With your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio on the side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Time is finally making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. First things first with the queen of black talk radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
KBLA Talk 1580. Is it Friday? Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show is called First Things First. And my first thing today and every day of the week, giving thanks, giving praise, and asking for blessings from the Most High. Asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders and getting the conversation started. Yeah, all you do is talk. No, that's not all we do, but it's part of what we do, and you're invited in. 800-920-1580. I'm not going to lie. Talking about it is important. It's how you figure it out. What's my position on this? What do I think about that again? Well, she said that, so that must not be true. He said that, so maybe it is true, and then I investigate for myself. We are evidence-based, fact-based, but we're also a place of fellowship, of conversation, of advocacy. 800-920-1580. That's the number. You are personally invited in if you want to conversate. I know it's a made-up word, but now it's going in the dictionary. And 800-920-1580 is just one way. You can hop in the YouTube chat at KBLA 1580, watch the show as we stream, and also talk a little something. And you may weigh in on social media. We are at KBLA 1580 on all social media platforms. I myself, DiPrima Radio, am on most social media platforms. But before this month is over, Miles, I will be on TikTok, and more on that later.
Sure you will. Sure you will, Dominique.
You can find Miles at Miles Low Music. On Fridays, this is what we do. Hour one, we look to the left coast, what's happening over here. Hour two is Freedman Fridays. We talk about reparations. It's a comprehensive conversation. It's meant to educate ourselves and each other. figure it out, find unity, and find our way forward. Hour 3, we do open phones on Fridays. Hour 3 is, well, just let's talk about it. We can unpack what we learned or unlearned about reparations, or bring up all of the other many pressing issues and topics on our minds, or just chop it up about dumb stuff. All that is allowed. And I'm joined this morning by my every other Friday partner in politics. He is a KBLA contributor and the owner of his own company, ES Advisors. They do public policy, campaigns, and more. Edward M. Sanders on Twitter. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning. How are you, Dominique? Happy Friday.
Oh, I'm just fine, thank you. I think I've slept a total of 2 hours in the past week, but I'm just fine. How are you?
About the same. It feels like it's that part of the year where you gotta put a little extra grind in.
Yeah. Always. Oh, good. It has an expiration date. I am very, very glad to hear that. I don't know if you celebrate Cinco de Mayo. It is Cinco de Mayo weekend coming up. I myself, I'm a fair weather Cinco de Mayo celebrator. If there's tacos, I'm in, but it's not something I go out of my way to, commemorate.
It's Southern California. It's one of those events that comes around, or days that comes around, and whether you celebrate it or not, it's going to be around you.
This used to be Mexico. Hello.
Well stated. A shot of tequila, some tacos always work. I think I'm going to check out the boxing match tonight and see how that goes.
Aha, something to do. Tell us about said boxing match. As you know, I'm just phasing back into sports now, so I haven't been following it, and I love boxing.
You got Canelo Alvarez, who's jumping back in the ring, and from a Cinco de Mayo perspective, it'll be fun to see him fight. All that wrapped around NBA playoffs. So, Cinco de Mayo should be a fun weekend.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, a lot of people think it is Mexican Independence Day, but it's not. It's actually just one battle that the ragtag Mexican army fought against Napoleon, which was at the time he was kind of the superpower of the world, right? He was kind of the U.S. China type Russia situation, and this under-equipped Mexican army won an important battle, and it was a victorious moment for Mexico, and they would be probably speaking French down there, maybe, I don't know, but it's not Mexican Independence Day, that's September 16th.
So Mexico would have been like, hey, if they had one, huh?
We'd be eating escargot instead of tacos. I doubt it. But, because ultimately the Spanish colonized and the Mexicans are Indians, right? They're indigenous people. So actually, Mexican. So funny that we separate Mexican, Guatemalan, Honduran, and all those are just, there are dozens of indigenous Native American First Nations folks mixed with Spanish colonizers. We are African folks mixed with various white colonizers.
And that's all of us.
Yeah, right. And so somehow anyway, I digress. So we got a lot to talk about. I know you've been tracking these protests and the sort of draconian crackdowns that we've seen across the state of California. I'm really stunned that this is what we're doing in a blue state, right? We're arresting children, students, young people, and children, and we are suspending them, messing up their futures. On the East Coast, they're reaching out to corporate firms and saying, don't hire our kids because they protested, when every generation of college kids, almost every generation, maybe there was, one in the disco era that was just doing coke or something, and maybe that was preferable for corporate America, but for the rest of us, every generation of college students is protesting. That's what college students do, and we are criminalizing it in a way that I don't know that I've seen in my lifetime, Ed Sanders.
Yeah, it's interesting how, and I think you point out, I think some of the real concerns on how organized the sort of anti-protest movement is, right? And I think off campus we've talked a little bit about, how tough it is to try to seek a job. I know we talked about it with regard to the valedictorian, right? And, you look at social media and employers are always looking, trying to find background on prospective candidates. And now this conflict and this debate is something that it appears is going to be used against people for some time.
It's really
like, is there a repository of that information? How does that work?
Well, I know Columbia Law School, I think, was reaching out to law firms saying don't hire these students because they, protested against Israel or against war, really. Their anti-war protests is really what they are,
right.
Divestment. And the other thing that really upsets me about this, Ed, is they're not addressing the students' concern. They're talking about, you're on the lawn, you're in the library, acting like they don't have to address the reasons the students are protesting, the demands that the young people are making, and that to me is really repressive in a kind of 1984 gross, you're not talking about what you're talking about kind of way. 1984, the book, of course.
Nice reference. I think that's right. This is a wildly emotional issue for the country.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
And I think you're seeing emotions on both sides, whether you're pro-Palestinian or
I'm going to push back here, Ed. I don't think you can both sides it. I do know. No. I don't think you can both sides it because the people that are out in mass are students protesting against the war. You do have counter-protesters like the people who came and attacked young people at UC. That's not both siding. One had weapons and the other one didn't, right? And yet the one without the weapons is the one arrested.
Right. Agreed. And I mean, we hope, you and I would hope, that the perpetrators of the violence, the way that we law enforcement went after those that were in sort of the January 6th, because I've got to imagine that there's enough cameras and video to
there's cameras everywhere.
But that sort of violence the other day was ridiculous. I mean, I think UCLA and the UC police are going to take a lot of heat for the response to that.
I mean, the governor's taking heat, and so is the mayor at this point. I'm hearing it. I'm seeing it in mainstream media. But they're taking heat for the wrong reasons. I think they're taking heat because they're not doing a more militarized Eric Adams disgusting New York mayor response, and that's the wrong reason. To me, we should be bucking the system and living up to our liberal California bona fides. And, I mean, if Northwestern can do it, Northwestern University officials announced on Monday that they have made an agreement with students and faculty protesting against what's happening in Gaza. They came up with a plan about how the demonstrations can continue, and they are working on some divestment from that university. It doesn't mean you meet all the students' demands. I mean, I know you are a student protester, Ed, even though people think you're, the moderate one or whatever. Ed has quite the, progressive streak. And I'm pretty sure you protest. I know I did. And we did have negotiations with the university. We didn't get everything we wanted, but we got some of the things that we wanted. And that is part of what made it not escalate.
Yeah. I mean, that you're right. And I'm not that read in on how the university is even responding to it.
Right. Most of them are just
I think
arresting
part of it is
students.
you've got a number of different universities, and each one, there's not really a coordinated response.
True.
Right? half of them are terrified to get into it after watching, the president at Harvard get tossed out. I mean, this issue is it's not fresh from this week. It's something that's been happening. And I think, universities are struggling. Certainly the leadership are trying to figure out what to do.
They need to go back and go to their own schools and listen to their own professors and learn how to deal with, a pluralistic world with lots of different viewpoints and passions and real actual humans who you are charged with teaching and not jailing. Ed Sanders is my guest. We've got a lot to talk about. Call us, 800-920-1580. Were you about to say something, Ed? I didn't mean to cut you off with my radio things.
No. Listen, I mean, I am agreeing with you wholeheartedly. We send our kids to school with the hopes that they further their education. Part of that is learning how to challenge the status quo or challenge, thoughts and prevailing ideas, because that's how the country gets stronger. That's how we get better as a people. But to your point, when we begin to sort of criminalize that, and certainly when violence is involved, we've got to figure that out.
800-920-1580. Happy Friday. We're not starting slow around here. Ha. KBLA Talk 1580.
Lowe's knows pros need the right tools for every job. That's why we sell the largest in-store selection of Klein tools anywhere. Find new items launching exclusively at Lowe's, like the self-leveling laser level for just $159.98. Plus, shop the Connect socket set for just $49.98. Get Klein tools in-store and online today, because Lowe's knows tools. Lowe's knows pros.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes account.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. First, thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We deeply appreciate you. So, I get asked all the time, Tavis, when are you going to bring back that State of the Black Union Symposium you used to do? You know the one where you had all those black intellectuals on stage every year and everybody watched all day live on C-SPAN? Yeah, I know the one. Let's bring them back. Well, I am pleased to tell you that if you go to KBLA1580.com right now, you can sign up to be in the audience here in Los Angeles when we go back live on C-SPAN with a stage full of black thinkers and influencers for a historic conversation. America has never seen a stage full of black folk talking about the urgency of now. Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. It's going down Tuesday, June 18th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the California Science Center in Exposition Park. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. Once we reach capacity, you'll have to watch us on C-SPAN. But if you want to be in the room when we go live from Los Angeles, Tuesday, June 18th, head to KBLA1580.com right now to reserve your seat. Caring about the climate, caring about the community. With KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your blast.
Even though LAUSD projects they will grow their reserves to $6.27 billion by July, they continue to shrink the budgets at our schools. Many critical programs and key positions for student support are at risk. This May 7th at 4:30 p.m., join education workers, students, and parents outside LAUSD headquarters at Beaudry Avenue and West 3rd Street to demand LAUSD stop shortchanging our schools. For more information, visit utla.net.
Their ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, let's get back to Dominique DiPrima and Ed Sanders. Gotta love KBLA. We go from casual talk about Cinco de Mayo to turning up about campus protests, 0 to 60 in 9.2 seconds. But there is a lot going on around the country, and I was encouraged to see, Northwestern making that deal with the students. They called it unprecedented. I don't think so. Attorney Dion Raymond was on talking about how when they were protesting apartheid on the UCLA campus, and she was over the Black Student Union, they negotiated with the administration and made, and had some concessions. And I know when I was at San Francisco State, we did the same. So I don't think it's unprecedented. I think it's precedented, and I think it's something that university leadership should study and model.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everyone tries to put how to protest in sort of, geographic and process, right? Like, come here, you could protest here, you can say this, you can do that. But I think when it's structured like that, it misses the point, right? And I think that's what you continue to see is that either you've got to find ways to be louder, you've got to find ways to gather the attention. What's been clear in this across the country is that, university leadership have been responding slowly to this. And I think to your point, it's one of these things that we should always keep in mind is how to best and most effectively stage protests, particularly when it comes back to issues that hit home for us.
Yeah.
We're going to have to deal with all sorts of issues over the next, decade. And our young people are going to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. In some cases, slowly. You're right. UCLA was one. I was actually admiring what they were doing and giving the students breathing room, allowing, hiring their own security. But then as soon as counter-protesters attack, it's used as an excuse to arrest a bunch of students. And I just, of course it matters where you stand on the issue, but let's also look at what this means about the right to protest and the right to express ourselves, and how, people of all supposedly right-wing, left-wing, conservative, other, are supposed to be welcome in this space. President Biden said we're a civil society and order must prevail. They need to make him stop talking about this. Is that what you told the Boston Tea Party? Is that what you told Nelson Mandela when he was protesting? No, you didn't. There's a famous speech of Joe Biden siding with Mandela and the African National Congress against apartheid. It's one of the things all the people that buy into this talking point that, Biden's a racist, they need to watch that. And apparently he needs to watch it too. Order must prevail. Justice must prevail.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to glorify John Lewis walking across a bridge and getting him, getting the crap beaten out of himself by cops. But when students do it, order must prevail.
and it's funny. I saw that clip, and the president is always funny to me because he has this idea that he's sort of this John Wayne character, I guess, and the delivery is always so awkward.
Okay, I don't blame him for being an awkward speaker. I know he's had a stutter his whole life. That has nothing to do with him being old. He's a guy who stutters, and I get that he's Quentin Joe and all that. But dude, you knew John Lewis. You supported him and others. All these politicians. It's not just Biden, but he happens to be the president at the moment. They only glorify civil rights people when, it's way past. There's already a birthday holiday for them. They're already, senators or Congress people. Not in the moment when people are actually seeking justice in real time on the ground.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's right. I mean, you could look back at, to take it back to sort of the sports reference, the life and career of Muhammad Ali. In the moment, he wasn't the revered figure that he grew to become. And I think that's true of most protesters, right? Like in the moment, they're vilified. That's what a protest is. You're shaking up the status quo. And it's time that makes you the hero.
Yeah, I think that's right. I love me some Muhammad Ali.
Of course.
And that's exactly why, because he was brave. He was brave and unwavering and smart and also an amazing boxer. But your point is taken. I think that we have to challenge ourselves to say, I might not agree with that person or that person, but part of what I treasure about my country is that we have these rights. Right?
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, and I think where we really get upset is where speaking your mind results in punishment that wouldn't or hadn't normally been associated with protesting in the past.
I mean, isn't that what we criticize other countries for? Russia protesters are jailed. Ooh, wow. And I don't even feel like I should have to say this, but apparently we do have to say this. Hate crimes are bad. Don't lynch people. Don't do racial slurs. Don't attack people because of their gender, their religion, because they're black, because they're Jewish, because they're Palestinian. Don't do it. It's wrong. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but in the context of defending student protesters in this country, apparently you do have to say it, and I don't mind saying it because I've been saying it my whole life. But to me, that doesn't have to do, that's not a qualifier or disqualifier to my right to protest.
Right, agreed. And I mean, the sad but honest truth is I think we're always going to have to do that in this country. This country is always going to be, not necessarily the melting pot, but what do they call it in school, the salad bowl, where we're blending communities across the country. And so there's always going to be some measure of strife between, different groups. Your point is taken in that we are always going to have to fight to make this a civil country. I think when we look at what's happening in the election coming forward, one of the reasons why we can't stand Trump is the aggressiveness that this sort of white nationalist politics has towards those that aren't white, and we are fighting
and
against
the fact
that.
that they tend to like to kill black people. I mean, speaking of those folks, we have Craig DeLuz, who is a quite conservative Republican, coming on for Freedman Friday. He's going to give his take on reparations, so that should be lively. And you're invited to weigh in as usual. News, traffic, and sports, and more with me and Ed on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Civil rights groups in Louisiana are appealing this week's redistricting ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court. A federal court this week shot down a proposed congressional map that added a second black majority district. The legal fight adds uncertainty to the November election. State election officials need to know the boundaries by mid-May. There's a new update to a national task force guidance for breast cancer screenings. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force is now recommending women between the ages of 40 to 74 to get a mammogram every other year. Previous USP-STF guidelines made in 2016 said biennial mammograms should start by age 50, and the decision for women to screen in their 40s was at their discretion. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Mother's Day is coming up, and Macy's Backstage has amazing deals on great gifts that Mom is going to love, all for $15 and under. Get low prices every day at Macy's Backstage. Find a store near you today at macy'sbackstage.com. Off price, on trend, arriving daily.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
How did you bounce back from a 30-point loss at home in the playoffs? That's the monumental challenge in front of the Clippers tonight in Dallas. The Clippers season will end tonight if they don't man up and show some character. Dallas leads the series 3-2. The forecast for a Clippers turnaround does not look good. Kawhi Leonard will not play tonight. His sore right knee continues to be a problem. And Terrence Mann is questionable with a right leg contusion. The Clippers may need to accept the reality that Kawhi is done for the season. Even if the Clippers win Game 6 to force a Game 7 on Sunday at Crypto, it's unlikely Kawhi will be healthy. He missed the final 8 games of the regular season and 4 of the 5 in this series. The solution for the Clippers is simple. Paul George, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook need to play like the All-Stars they have been. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes peace. So much love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They want to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZY to learn more.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that for Bree's car.
Just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. We've got 40 days of consistency. Our local trees park just right on your face. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. And breathe happy for Breeze. La 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 la.
Watch out! You got me! The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And you know the drill. You're invited in. Yeah, so it is Freedman Friday, Ed, and you and I have had some conversations about this, but maybe I misunderstand where you are on reparations. I know you're supportive of it in theory, as in, you think it's a good idea, but my understanding is you think it's not attainable.
Yeah, well, that's broad. I don't think it can be just that simple. I think when you talk about reparations, I think what you're trying to repair or fix is sort of the first question, right? And I think you can run across a number of different issues, from health to education to employment prospects. You know what I mean? You can run the gamut. And proposed solutions, some of them are very doable, and others are, I don't think are achievable.
Okay, give me an example of what you would consider doable. And I wonder if it's even reparations, because I feel like that's part of what the, California Legislative Black Caucus got crap for, even from me, is that they went for things that are doable but may or may not be reparations. Now, some of them clearly are, but some of them are just more, they're good, but they're not reparations. And some of them are terrible.
Right. Agreed. Well, I think you could start by, let's just take, let's take education, right? And we look at the performance of African American children in schools across the state and across the country. And, we've struggled for decades now to figure out how to get, higher performance out of our community. I don't think any of us think that, our kids don't have the potential to do it. That doesn't make sense.
Are you talking about, it sounds like affirmative action, though. That doesn't sound like reparations unless it's, I don't know, specifically what kinds of things would help them that go in the reparations bucket.
Well, I think that's the point. What does it take? And that's what you're doing to repair. I think a lot of times the reparations conversation comes back to sort of a cash payout or something along those lines. And honestly, I don't know I don't think that is truly attainable. I don't think the country is just going to write,
Paulie says in the chat, if our ancestors felt and thought like that, we'd still be in chains. Never say never, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're trying to get this country to write us a check that they haven't written yet. And,
a debt that is owed, though. It's not welfare. If I owe my mortgage, the company's not going to say, oh, it's been a long time and, you don't really have the money, so I'm not going to expect you to pay. That's not how debt works, unfortunately.
No, I get it.
For me and my mortgage.
Yeah, but you're talking about it in the context of a political conversation, right? Like, this isn't something that one person is just going to decide to do. If it were you or me and we were in the chair and we had to make the thumbs up, I think it's very attainable. But we're talking about it in the context of politics. And I think what you read out of me is that I don't think the politics are there for something like that to take place. I don't disagree with whoever that was in the chat. I just,
Paulie. Yeah, but here's the thing, Ed. Politics are also subject to change, right?
Right.
I remember when Obama ran, when he first came out, that he was running, and a lot of black people were saying, it's not his turn. It's too soon. We'll never have a black president. We're with Hillary, and my head was exploding because the same people that were criticizing me for having a white mama were saying that they were going to support Hillary and not Obama. My head was exploding. It reminds me of, marriage equality. I didn't think I'd see that in my lifetime, that, anyone can get married. I don't think that marriage should, if it's governed by the state, should be subject to religious, rules, because we're not a theocracy. And I've said that for literally decades. Either the government should get out of the marriage business and leave it to individual churches to decide, or it has to be for everybody, because otherwise that's discrimination. Well, I didn't think I'd see that in my lifetime. You saw Obama saying he evolved on LGBTQ rights and marriage. I mean, government changes, and it is subject to the will of the people to an extent. I mean, we know it's the will of the corporations. We know it's an oligarchy. But if enough of the public get behind something, the politicians suddenly get enlightened.
I think you're right. Listen, that is the political process that we talk about all the time, that we debate on various issues. I just think it's a steep mountain that, I'll put it this way.
Okay, Ed, the Lakers winning another championship is a steep mountain, but we don't give up on it.
No, right, but we also take incremental victories as well, right? And
any victory will do.
Yeah, like Karen Bass said, at least we won the in-season tournament, But it's I think the whole history of our community in politics has been about reparations. I think I do take some umbrage with the thought that now it's called reparations. We've been doing reparations since we've been involved in politics in this country. And not at any one point is this going to be solved through, one stroke of a pen. Unless you're giving us a whole new country that it's just us,
you sound
we're
like
always
my dad.
working.
A black nationalist nation in the Black Belt South.
So I'd go for that. Give us Florida, South Carolina, Georgia.
I mean, as long as we're not, as long as we control our own borders, our own power supply, our own water. I mean, I actually like being part of a diverse nation, but if we were going to have our own land and our own, you don't want to be in a situation where you don't control your border, your electricity, your power. You don't have true sovereignty. Then you're just like a whole country that's a housing project.
Yeah, true. But unless
kind of like the West Bank, if I'm being honest.
Anyway.
Yeah. Until you have that, your own separate nation. I don't know that I have to think about that. I don't know that I agree with that, because Evanston's doing it right now. They're paying reparations, right? And I know it's small scale, but 5 years ago, no cities had reparations commissions. Now dozens do.
Agreed.
3 years ago, no states had reparations task force. Now 4 do.
And do you consider what they're doing that the community has been repaired?
No, but it's in motion. It's in motion. They're studying what the harm was and what real repair looks like. California, of course, leading the way and really laying it out in all these different areas: housing, healthcare, education, finance, all these areas, and what that repair specifically looks like, and who should get the repair and who should benefit on a broader sense. We're getting real specific now, to the point where the governor actually has to say reparations is about more than cash, and then he gets pushback, and then he clarifies that he doesn't mean he's against cash. That conversation would have been unthinkable 10 years ago, just 10 years ago. A governor having to respond to the black community response to his thoughts on reparations. What? That, to me, represents incredible progress.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. I take umbrage with the thought that reparations create some measure of finality, like that okay, if it were passed, that this conversation is done. We've already seen, and you hear it from white folks and others in the country. Oh, we solved this issue. We solved the issue of slavery. We had a civil rights.
Right.
They say that
Why are you
now.
still complaining? You have a chip on your shoulder. I don't care what they say. If cut the check.
But reparations sets that up.
Well, but they're going to do it anyway, Ed. And I know you don't really mean that because you and I worked on the campaign to restore affirmative action in the state of California together. And both of us were pushing back against that talking point that, oh, well, if you get affirmative action, someone might think you don't deserve to be on that campus. And that and $1 will get you a cup of coffee. I don't care what you think. Let me in the door. I don't care what you think and what you say because you're going to say what you and think what you say and think anyway. So cut the check.
Yeah. I do have to care because I don't think that we can solve any of our issues in one fell swoop. I think
that I agree with.
On a continuum, right?
And that I agree with.
Yeah. It's the framing of this for me. Like it puts us in a point where okay, what if they do sign? What if, is it the Dave Chappelle show and we get.
You think it's Republicans and Roe v. Wade? Oh, ish. We overturned women's right to choose, and now it's biting us in the butt. I don't care if reparations bites me in the butt. Cut the check, change the laws, outlaw the discrimination, and make the apology and all of that. And then if you want to be mad about it because you're mad anyway. We had a whole president saying there's good people on both sides. We have a president, just the previous past and possibly the next, who actually hired white supremacists in his administration. He doesn't care what we think. I don't care what he thinks. Unless he says, you know what, I'm Donald J. Trump and here's an ironclad contract, which ain't going to happen, granting, everything that the California Task Force laid out. Well, Black America first. It's Ed Sanders and Dominique DiPrima. Are you listening to KBLA Talk 1580?
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Life can throw unexpected challenges our way. Black families need support. Children require safe, loving, temporary homes. Research shows that children in foster care thrive best when they remain in their own communities. The strength and love within the Black community can provide a sense of belonging. We need your help to consider opening your hearts and homes. Contact fosterlakids.org today or call 888-811-1121. Again, 888-811-1121. Become a foster parent today. Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We used to argue about whose turn it was to clean the gutters, but then I had Leaf Filter gutter protection installed.
Wait, I told you Leaf Filter had free inspections and estimates and a lifetime guarantee.
Meaning we never have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the gutters again.
But I visited leaffilter.com/beacon first.
No, I did.
It doesn't matter who. Visit leaffilter.com/beacon to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount for
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line.
Does it have to be family?
It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQL.
ZQL, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQL nights. Explore our products at ZQL.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk. We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
And there's a lot of deep conversation going on in the YouTube chat. Ed Sanders, I don't think it's fair to throw the questions you guys are throwing out at Ed without giving him time to prepare. But they are talking about this firm, Greenberg Tarek, which is representing victims of the October 7th, 2023 Hamas terror attack on Israel. And they're representing a group of victims. And, you know, of course, people talk about reparations to the Japanese Americans, which also included cash. New York has given reparations or restitution to Holocaust victims, even though the U.S. government was not in control of their horrifying fate, even though, you know we sold the Germans weapons before we jumped in the war on the correct side. So, you know, and there are many other examples, and so the logical question is, why not the people who actually built this country 12 generations worked without pay, built the White House, most of the infrastructure, allowed this nation to be a superpower because of the massive amount of wealth that we generated?
Look, that is right. You know, it's not that I think we all know that we have an ownership stake in the country, and that's just inherent. I think when I hear reparations, I think of the term repair, and I think of, you know, what are the elements of our community that were and have been, you know, continually damaged because of slavery, and can we repair them? Can we take the steps to do it? And, you know, again, the term reparations and sort of wrapping it around sort of a set of bills as though that's the finality of it, I don't agree with. I think we are going to constantly be in a state of repairing our community so that we can thrive and survive, you know, for future generations in this country. And that's my take on it. It's not that anything that has been proposed isn't a good idea. I think just wrapping it in the frame of reparations is not necessarily a good frame for us.
Yeah, well, we'll agree to disagree, but even though in principle I do concur that you don't get to, terrorize people for hundreds of years and then say, okay, you got to check, we're done. Why are you still complaining? Why are you not perfect? But I do agree that repair is on a continuum. You don't put a Band-Aid on the wound and then it's all better. You have to let it heal, and you've got to do everything you can to make it heal. But right now, I feel like for the most part, our nation is putting salt on the wound or gashing it deeper these days more so than repairing. Yes and no, right? Like there is good work that's being done across the country, but there's also a whole side of this country that is trying to undo it, and that's sort of the bigger piece. I think I find myself looking at that group and wanting to go on the offensive against them, to protect what we've been able to put in, right? Like, all of the elements of the civil rights movement and the work that has been done through the decades, all of that is at risk right now. I agree. I don't disagree. We got to keep pushing. I agree. I mean, I had a friend call me yesterday and go off on me saying that I'm going too far to the left because I'm criticizing Biden, and it's going to be my fault if Trump wins. And I think I understand the point. I mean, I do not want I don't want Trump 2.0. I have not read through all of Project 2025. I've read some of it. It's long, but it's scary, right? And so I am not saying Biden sucks, vote for Trump. And I am also aware that third parties can be spoilers. I do think that in this particular election, especially with young people, there are folks that are not going to vote for Biden because of what he's doing in Gaza, period, full stop. That's not my fault. That's Biden's fault. And I think that some of those folks may be energized to come out and vote for a Dr. Cornel West. Hopefully they'll vote down ballot as well. I am not saying don't vote for Biden. I am not saying that. I think we have to make that choice, because right now we're not even talking about Biden versus Trump. We're talking about Project 2025, i.e. authoritarianism and fascism versus our corporate Democrats. And I'll take the corporate Democrats every day of the week. Yeah, in this case, you're probably right. I think there are a significant number of people that would do so, but holding their nose, and that's okay too, right? Like, and I think the first point of it is, look, at no point should we not criticize, the president who's leading this country, the nominee of the party that we tend to vote 9 out of 10 for. To take that criticism off is to take your voice out of this whole process. And Biden doesn't get off that easy. You got to continue to hear us, and he'll continue to hear our concerns. He'll either address them or he won't. And if he doesn't, he loses. That's him, right? And I think the unfortunate side for us is in that sort of binary choice. The other choice is horrible, right? Like and that's the sad part about it for us. Yeah. Well, Ed, it's always fun to talk with you. I love picking a fight with you. You can find him on Twitter, X, at Edward M. Sanders. You can find me there, DiPrima Radio, and of course KBLA 1580 is everywhere. Ed, thank you. Happy Friday. Thank you. Bye. Yes, indeed. Friedman Fridays is next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Civil rights groups in Louisiana are appealing this week's redistricting ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court. A federal court this week shot down a proposed congressional map that added a second black majority district. The legal fight adds uncertainty to the November election. State election officials need to know the boundaries by mid-May. There's a new update to a national task force guidance for recommending women